Hey, kia ora everyone, Chris here, Bayleys Insights team, sitting here with Victoria Bidwell from Bayleys Takapuna, chatting about the super prime market for residential around New Zealand. So, kia ora Victoria, how are you?
Very well on this lovely fine Friday, beautiful day.
What a beautiful day, and what a beautiful house to be at. So we're obviously at 19 Jubilee Ave today. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, this is a very special house and very unique. It did win the Institute of Architects Award for Renovation Rebuild and the Rosine Colour Awards last year.
I love the whole aesthetic, like bit of mid-century in here, right?
Yes, it's very different. There's no jib walls, you'll notice. The details in the ceiling. There's a very big story behind the house, and if anybody was interested, they can go online and read Michael O'Sullivan's. He's got a video interview there of how he blended the house into its setting on the side of North Head. So the colour and everything just blends. You go through your gate at the back and you're on North Head.
Yeah, no, super cool. And what a beautiful, like you probably can't see it in the camera because it's quite bright, but the view over Devonport, and it's just nice sitting here. You see people having a walk around, like going down to the village, and like just a beautiful property. So if you do want to find out a little bit more, just reach out to Victoria and you can get some details. So Victoria, topic for today, right? We're talking New Zealand super prime residential, and so this kind of coincides with a report that we've just put out on the topic. And so we're talking just generally kind of properties above like 7.5 mil in Auckland and above 5 mil outside of Auckland. But we've got some other stats that maybe use some slightly different numbers in here as well. But Victoria, like this is a market that you're super active in, right? And coming into sort of 2022, I recall one of the nuggets that was quite common was people say, oh, well, you know, the super prime market's way more resilient than the mainstream market. So as the rest of the market goes for a correction, it's like all good, like everyone's wealthy. Like, well, what's been the actual experience over the past 2 years?
Well, I have seen a couple of these cycles, and they've always been the same at the top end. What tends to happen is the top end keeps on going after the rest of the market pulls back. And so people think, oh, the top end's resilient, it will keep going. But the reality is that it does change, and it has been very tight over the last 12 to 18 months. And then when the rest of the market starts to recover, the top end does recover a little bit later than the rest of the market.
Okay, so Victoria, as the market starts to improve, so your mainstream market, what are you starting to see come through right now, like in terms of dynamics? Because obviously OCR reductions, mainstream market's a bit more optimistic, but where's the super prime market at the moment?
Yeah, the super prime market is starting to pick up. Like we have seen the lower ends of the market, quite substantial changes in that in the last couple of months since the OCR change. And what's happening now is I'm getting a lot of inquiry at the top end of the market. And I'm getting a lot of appointments in terms of people wanting me to appraise their houses. So that activity I know is going to be coming. But this number of actual sales that transacted in the last 12 months in the upper end was down from where it would normally be.
Gotcha.
And prices were down too. It did follow the rest of the market, but if we looked at sales through 2022, at the top end of the market, it was very strong. And so it appeared that that was going to be untouched by what was happening in the rest of the market. But the reality was that then it petered down and then it became a much more difficult market in terms of selling and people having the confidence to buy. And you can see that changing rapidly now with confidence coming back.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so that would have... I guess with these super prime properties, it's a little bit harder to run stats because there's generally like fewer transactions, right? But you can see it through the volume numbers. Like we were just chatting off camera before around how the there's a definite change in the volume or at certain price points, right?
Yeah, a big change over 6 million. Like I'm talking about the shore. So a lot of the top end or upper end sales do sit in the sixes, and then you have less sales from 7 onwards, but there was definitely a pullback from 22-23 to 23-24, probably about a 50% fallback in transactions. But a lot of that is because people don't have to transact at that end of the market. So a lot of vendors will think if they're not going to get their prices at the moment, they'll just hang on and wait for a while.
That makes sense. I guess because typically you're dealing with really nice houses anyway, right? So it's not
and they're very big investments, and people are normally selling those properties for a lifestyle change or retirement or leaving the country, they often don't have to transact in that month, 6 week period.
Gotcha.
They can just wait a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. And so, like looking at the market at the moment, what do you see sort of tracking out over the next maybe 6 months? Like, do you think it'll just follow the market up and?
Yes, I think there'll probably be quite a sudden splurge of
Yep.
sales and activity at that end of the market. That's normally what happens. You get 1 or 2 sales, and at the moment we are seeing those sales starting to occur in the city.
Yep.
And we know on the shore that once the city starts to move, we're normally a couple of months behind.
Yeah, cool.
So I would think by the time we get into that late January, February market,
Yep.
things will be starting to look quite buoyant in the upper end. Yep. Waterfronts will lead the way.
Yep.
We've had a very good take up to our Waterfront magazine
Yep,
this
absolutely.
year.
Yep.
And so if I look at those stats over the last 3 years, say, you do still have Waterfront as leading that top end market.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. So, and it's also quite an interesting time to be transacting at the moment, right? Because there's a little bit more stability around where things are going to sell and buy for. So at least people aren't going to get priced out by some rapid change in the market.
Yeah, and that's a really, really valid point, and it is very pertinent to a lot of people that they feel at the moment that they can look without being panicked and they can make an offer and do a negotiation and they're not being pushed by the hype of the market.
Yeah.
And so I think at that upper end often people are a little bit more considered about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so a market like this, which is really now what I would think is a normal market,
Yep.
you know, it doesn't feel normal to some people because we had that very strong bull market, but that wasn't normal. But this is more normal now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and I agree with that. Like the ability to take a little bit of time and not feel too rushed. Actually, really nice as a buyer.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Well, Victoria, thanks very much for chatting today about the market. Been real cool just to sort of get into obviously a super prime property as well and just have a bit of a chat. If you want to learn more about what's happening in the super prime market, we've got our report here, which we'll link in the description. And other than that, I hope you have an awesome day, Victoria, and thanks for having us out here at 19 Jubilee.
Thank you. Pleasure to host you at this beautiful property.